Switch Radio Sport. This is Switch.
Joining me today is Assistant Manager of Cheltenham Town Women, Mike Harris. Mike, thank you for joining me today. 2 finals in the space of 3 years for yourself. You must be getting used to these occasions by now.
Delighted to be back in the final again. Spoke to the group, obviously a different club this time, so I spoke to the group and just said, throughout the process that actually the final was a brilliant day last time we were there. There's lots of great exposure for the club, for the girls. It was a wonderful day at Solihull Moors last time we were there, so really excited to be back. Have enjoyed the cup run. I think it's been really helpful for us in our season, so it should be a great day out and hopefully a trophy to celebrate as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and a last-minute penalty kick save to help you win that semi-final. What was going through your mind during that period of time?
Yeah, obviously it's not the situation you want to be in, but I was quietly confident with Karis. She's been brilliant in the cup run. She's been understudy to our first choice goalkeeper Mia this season, and the plate has been Karis's competition, so we were delighted for her. I think she's an incredibly popular player in the squad, and I think everybody was delighted for her in that moment. It was incredibly brave as well. She had not only made the save, but then to dive on the ball, and knowing that she was probably going to take some contact was brave, and it's a wonderful moment for her. I think teams can get excited and potentially go back to that first choice keeper in once you reach the semi-final stage. But we were delighted for Karis to have another opportunity, and she took it. She was absolutely brilliant all day. She's a talented keeper, and what a great moment for her.
Oh, it must have been, absolutely, yeah. So Cheltenham reaching the final of the plate, still in the County Cup. You made history in the FA Cup. What do you put your cup success down to?
I think we've been really good all season. I think we've been a little bit frustrated at times in the league because ultimately there have been results that haven't reflected the performances, but there's been a massive transition at Cheltenham, and there's a lot of very affluent clubs in the league, and players who were involved last season have been given opportunities to go to other clubs, which is absolutely fine, and you expect it. So the club was ultimately in transition. I think what you've seen is the cup season, when it came to crunch time in the FA Cup and crunch time in the plate, we began to click as a squad, and it took us a couple of months, and that was reflected at times in, like I said, in some of the results in the league. But when these girls were called upon in the cup games to really dig in and produce some brilliant performances and some brilliant results, they did. And I think for me, one of the biggest things is the culture of the group and how much they like each other. I think the staff work incredibly hard. We've got a lot of very good people on the pitch working with the players every single week. I think it's important that they're well coached and they're given support and guidance, and they understand their role in the team, but also that we develop them every single week, because ultimately these players want to come in and improve. And if you provide a good level of coaching and you develop your players, then it's going to only benefit the team. So I think what you've seen in the Cup is what we're capable of, which is producing results. And if you look at them minus the win against Yeovil, they've all been very tight games. So, it's not a case where we're going out and absolutely dominating teams. We're having to get in the trenches together and dig in and get behind the ball in the last 10 minutes or so. And we played against some very good cup teams in Wolves, in Moneyfields. Stockport were a fantastic outfit. Southampton on Sunday were incredibly tricky. So we've had to be brilliant to produce those results, and it hasn't been a one-off. We've done it, almost for a couple of months now. And that means that we've been able to enjoy breaking some records and some brilliant opportunities to play on some grand scales, really, to enjoy a cup final on a big day, and that's massive for the club and for everyone involved.
You mentioned a few of your opponents there. Bournemouth are your opponents for the final. What can you tell us about that team?
I think they're a fantastic side. They're running away with it in their division. Obviously played 10-1-10 so far, have an abundance of resources available to them, but make good use of them. They've got some great goal scorers. They support for the girls at Bournemouth is fantastic, and you'd expect that with a club obviously resourced by a Premier League club, and you can see how well the club is run based on how well the men's team are doing at the moment as well. So it's going to be a very tough test. Do not let the leagues fool you. I would almost argue that they would be favourites in the game, but we love that. We love that, underdog mentality. We love going into games and feeling like actually it's going to be a big opportunity for us to show, how good we are as a group and how hard we work. So it's going to be a wonderful game. some very good footballers on that pitch and something for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. They came so close last season to promotion, and of course this season they're doing really well as well. So I thoroughly agree with your take on that. Bournemouth played Manchester United Academy in the semi-final. The players have had a new look this year. How do you think it's gone this year with the introduction of the PGA teams?
I will be honest with you, I don't know the justification for it, and that makes it a little bit tricky for me to understand and comprehend. I think the idea of National League teams playing PGA teams is a really nice idea. I'm not sure if the National League plate is the best place for that. What a great opportunity to consider a Women's FA Trophy or a Women's FA Vase, where, you know, prospectively the teams from tiers 3 to 6 and the PGA teams compete for a trophy, and that trophy ends up at a big stadium for the final, you know, maybe a Wembley in years to come. If that's financially viable in the near future, brilliant, but if it's not, then, you know, it's something we build towards. But I'm not sure it's best placed in the National League plate, if I'm being completely honest, but I also admit to the fact that I'm not involved in the rationale for it. I don't necessarily fully understand the discussion, but I think it could be better placed, would be my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. A little bit about your squad. 3 players have played in all 22 games for you this season. Una Lu and Emily Owen have been regular starters, with Libby Bell coming off the bench 12 times. What are these 3 players bringing to your squad this season?
Probably very tricky to talk about them all in isolation because they're such a good group, and what we've probably built the last few months' success on is what they're willing to do for each other, how hard they're willing to work. You've mentioned 3 players who just embody that. Incredibly hard-working footballers, always willing to throw themselves around, you know, to put in tackles, but also they've got exceptional quality in moments too. All 3 of them have contributed in both areas of the pitch, you know, defensively and attacking-wise. Una's work rate is fantastic, and she's developing, and she's an exceptional young talent. Libby joined us from Tier 5 this season, which kind of shows you the transition process that's gone on, but she's done phenomenally well to adapt to that in the months that she's been here, and she will continue to develop because she's hard-working and she cares. Emma is a fantastic leader, a massive presence in the back line. She's got a fantastic left foot, really dangerous from set pieces, and, you know, I could speak highly of all the players in the squad who all offer different things, and we're in that wonderful place at the moment where it's complementing each other, they're working hard for each other, and we're producing results, which is ultimately what we're here to do.
Yeah, 3 players that I think would be safe to say are fan favourites across social media as well there. Last week it was publicly announced the restructure of the women's pyramid, bigger leagues, playoffs, more teams up, more teams down, B teams as well. Would you say this is a step forward within the women's pyramid?
I think we've been desperate for bigger leagues for a while, but there have been questions about when is the right time. There's obviously the National League minimum standards have been in place now for a period of time. I think the proof will be in the pudding. I don't think anybody really knows how it's going to play out. I think it's important that the women's pyramid has a unique identity. I'm not sure if B teams is that identity. But like I said, I'm not one of the people who's researching this and ultimately making the decisions. You know, there may be a very strong rationale and an interest in this. I would have a number of questions and concerns about how things would play out if, for example, teams were relegated from the Super League and the Championship. What would that mean for their B teams? You know, my questions around what exit routes are lined up for players. You know, for me, that there is an abundance of questions that I'm sure everybody has. I think it's our job to answer them. I think it's our job to ask them, but I think we also need to be open-minded and engage in that process where we ultimately produce the best possible product for women's football, for female footballers across the country, and for everybody involved in the game, who all of us ultimately want to see the best product possible and the game continue to grow and be as enjoyable as it is.
Switch Radio Sport. This is Switch.